Discover the incredible journey of a woman transformed after 10 years of heartbreaking betrayal. Lisa woke up before the sun, as she always did. The soft whispers of dawn painted her small Midwestern town, Belleville, in gentle hues. With each rustle in the kitchen, she concocted the familiar smell of coffee, eggs, and pancakes, the beloved breakfast fare that welcomed patrons at Tommy's Diner. She moved quietly, her hands working instinctively, while her heart carried the weight of years. Mia, her spirited 9-year-old, and Jake, her shy 7-year-old, still slept soundly. As Lisa carefully flipped pancakes, she couldn't help but smile at the sight of her children. Their laughter was a distant dream, playing like a cherished melody in her heart. She poured syrup with precision, reminding herself of her unwavering love for them, despite the shattering betrayal etched in her mind. It had been 10 long years since Carl, her husband, had chosen another over his family, a younger woman with flawless skin and bright eyes, who seemed to embody everything Lisa once admired. The people of Belleville admired her work ethic, but few recognized the depths of her isolation. Community gatherings stirred a bittersweet longing, a reminder of dreams lost. She listened as others recounted happy tales, while she sat, a silent spectator against the backdrop of a life turned upside down. One summer afternoon at the annual Belleville Summer Festival, an unexpected ripple coursed through the crowd. News spread like wildfire. Her ex-husband was embroiled in a scandal. As Lisa stood at the edge of bustling laughter and music, anxiety coiled in her stomach. She longed to flee, to hide her bruised heart from familiar faces. But friends urged her to confront Carl, sowing seeds of courage in her doubt-riddled mind. Could she really face him? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As the warm summer air buzzed with laughter and music, Lisa gripped her children's hands tighter, stepping closer to the heart of the festival. She thought of the years spent mending a broken heart while the world spun on. Memories of betrayal ricocheted through her, transforming into a swallowing heaviness. But beneath the pain lay a flicker of strength she had thought extinguished. Then the microphone crackled, drawing the crowd's attention. Lisa felt something shift within her. Uncertainty battled with determination, and before she could second-guess herself, she propelled forward, her heart pounding like a war drum. What would come of this moment? Would it deepen her wounds? Or could it be the start of releasing the chains that bound her to her old self? As the crowd murmured, she took a deep breath and prepared to face the man she once loved. The atmosphere crackled, and Lisa felt alive. The air around her shimmered, inviting possibility. Could forgiveness be stitched into the fabric of her healing? As she connected with the eyes of the townsfolk, Lisa realized she was standing on the brink of an extraordinary choice. The chance to reclaim her heart, a chance to rediscover herself amid the chaos. Lisa stepped onto the stage, her heart racing as she felt the weight of every eye upon her. Each gaze was a thread weaving through her past, memories entwined with loss, anger, and uncertainty. She took a moment to absorb the festival's energy, the laughter and chatter mixing with something new, a sense of purpose blooming within her. "Mama, are you going to talk?" Mia whispered, tugging at the hem of Lisa's apron, her wide eyes bright with curiosity. "Yes, sweetie," Lisa replied, stroking Mia's hair, savoring the warmth of her child's presence. For Mia and Jake, she had to find her voice. Carl stood at the edge of the crowd, his expression unreadable. He was older than she remembered, the lines on his face deepening with every regret he wore like a badge. Anger sparked in Lisa's chest, fueled by the years of painful silence. But instead of letting resentment consume her, she breathed in deeply, grounding herself in the moment. "Hi, everyone," she started, her voice crackling slightly as she looked across the sea of familiar faces. I'm Lisa." The crowd quieted, waiting as she searched for the right words, the right way to express the whirlwind inside her. "I'm here today to speak about something very personal," she continued, her pulse quickening. "For 10 years, I tried to pick up the pieces of my life after the betrayal of my husband, Carl." She glanced over at him, feeling the weight of the past shatter into fragments under her gaze. It wasn't easy. I felt lost, angry, and alone. A hushed murmur spread through the crowd. Lisa could see the mix of emotions on their faces, surprised, supportive, even pitying. But she pressed on, refusing to let fear stall her. "But I've learned something," she declared, her voice growing more confident. "I've learned that forgiveness isn't about letting someone off the hook. It's about healing yourself, and I want to heal." With her children beside her, Lisa felt the urge to tell her own story, to reclaim her narrative. The echoes of betrayal softened, reshaped by empowerment. Each breath she took made her feel lighter. She was not just a victim, she was a survivor. "I thought forgiveness meant forgetting the pain he caused, but it's not about that. It's about freeing myself from the grip of pain that held me captive for so long. If I can forgive, I can build a new life, for me and my kids." A wave of applause broke the crowd, cheers blending with her children's joyful shouts. Lisa's heart swelled. The townsfolk were not just witnessing her moment, they were embracing it. As the applause faded, she caught Carl's eyes again. This time there was a flicker of something else, regret and maybe admiration. But the most surprising thing was the unexpected surge of compassion that washed over her. It was liberating. Just as she began to step back, caught in a mix of euphoria and clarity, she felt a hand on her shoulder. Turning, she faced Carl, an unfamiliar twist in her story. The air thickened as he took a deep breath, uncertainty visible in his eyes. "I need to talk to you," Carl said, his voice barely above a whisper. An anxious hush fell over the crowd, excitement buzzing in the air. The moment felt heavy with potential, a turning point waiting to unfold. What would he say? Would it shatter her newfound strength or reinforce it? Lisa's heart raced again, this time filled with curiosity and anticipation. The past and future collided in that heartbeat. As the tension lingered, surprises loomed on the horizon. Was this the start of a true conversation, a possibility of reconciliation, or something deeper? Lisa's breath caught in her throat. What lay ahead could change everything. Lisa's eyes met Carl's, and the weight of her emotions tugged at her insides. She could sense the crowd's breath collectively holding as they leaned in, waiting for something they had no right to expect. "Can we talk somewhere private?" His voice trembled just enough to reveal the vulnerability beneath his stoic facade. A painful part of her wanted to say no, to tell him with every ounce of her being that he had forfeited that privilege long ago. But the ache of curiosity mixed with something else. Could it be a spark of hope? "My van," she said suddenly, surprising herself with her own decisiveness. "Let's go to my van." The crowd parted as she stepped down from the stage, Mia and Jake trailing close behind, their youthful innocence contrasting sharply with the emotional storm brewing within their mother. Carl followed, each of his footsteps echoing with uncertainty. Once they reached her van, Lisa turned to face Carl, a mix of apprehension and resolve painting her features. They stood there, the fading sounds of the festival surrounding them like distant waves crashing on the shore. Lisa leaned against the cool metal of her van, collecting her thoughts as she searched Carl's eyes for answers. "What do you want?" she finally asked, her voice steadier than she felt. I wanted to hear you, really hear you," he said, rubbing the back of his neck, a nervous habit she remembered from their time together. "I was wrong. I didn't value what we had. I took you for granted." Each admission was like a strike on a heart already bruised. Lisa crossed her arms, bracing against the sting of memories flooding back to her. With every apology, she felt pieces of an old wound being pulled open. "You think that just saying you're sorry wipes everything away?" she challenged. "No," he said quickly, almost pleading. "I know it doesn't, but I've done a lot of thinking, Lisa. I've changed, and I want to show you that, not just with words, but with actions. I've missed you and the kids more than I can say." Lisa's breath faltered. She wanted to scream, "Why now?" or "What do you expect from me?" Instead, she found herself getting drawn in, despite her instincts insisting she guard her heart. Every part of her wanted to question him, to pull apart his claims, yet she was struck by the sheer vulnerability in Carl's eyes. "Actions, huh?" she said, forcing a bitter laugh. "You know what mattered to me? You showing up when it counted, like when I needed you during the hardest days." "I know, I get it. I can't change the past, but I can show you that I want a future," he said softly, his voice imbued with sincerity. Lisa's heart raced. Could it be possible? Could she give words like those meaning? She felt the walls around her heart start to tremble, and deep down, that thrill of desire for companionship pulsed in her veins like a long-forgotten memory. "Why should I trust you?" "It's your choice," he replied. "But if I may ask, can we start this over? As friends? Or more, if you'd be willing. You deserve a chance to be happy, Lisa." Silence engulfed them, thick with the weight of unspoken possibility. In that moment, everything felt fragile and alive. Mia tugged at Lisa's apron, breaking the heavy atmosphere. "Mama, are you okay?" Lisa knelt to her child's level, pulling her close. "I'm fine, sweetheart. Just thinking." As the enormity of Carl's offer loomed over her, Lisa mulled over everything, the hurt, the hope, the possibility of a new beginning. It was terrifying and exhilarating all at once. With each passing second, the decision loomed closer, and she felt every heartbeat echoing in her ears. Was she ready to embrace change? Could she bear to peek through the cracks of her heart once more? Just as Lisa opened her mouth to respond, a sudden commotion erupted from the festival grounds, diverting their attention. "What's happening?" Carl asked, concern etched across his face. Lisa's heart sank. This was a moment she had to grab hold of. She had to decide. But with the chaos unfolding, it felt like a choice was being thrust out of reach, just when she thought she could take a step forward. What was happening that could change everything again? The rumble of chaos from the festival grew louder, swallowing the moment they had just shared. The energy was electric, a mix of excitement and apprehension seeping into the air. Lisa's pulse quickened, and her focus shifted from Carl's hopeful gaze to the distant crowd, where people were pointing and gasping in disbelief. "Mama, what's wrong?" Mia's little voice pulled at her heartstrings, fragile and innocent. "Nothing, honey. Stay close to me," Lisa whispered, her protective instinct kicking in. She felt the weight of Carl's presence, a mix of warmth and uncertainty. He was still standing there, eyes fixed on her, but a flicker of fear shadowed his face. "Let's check it out," he suggested, glancing back towards the commotion. "It might be nothing, but we should see." The sudden urgency in his tone brought a flood of memories, of moments when they had faced the world together, united. Somehow, their shared past felt like it was hovering in the air between them, coiling tightly around their unspoken words. Lisa nodded, her decision pushed aside for now as she took Mia's hand in hers and gestured for Jake to follow. As they walked toward the ruckus, the sounds of laughter and music that had colored the festival receded into a distant echo, leaving anxiety in its wake. Lisa could feel Carl close behind, his proximity a source of comfort and confusion all at once. A small crowd had gathered around a stage where performers had been moments away from starting a new act. Lisa pushed through to the front, her heart pounding. She wasn't prepared for what she saw. A young girl sat on the ground, tears streaming down her cheeks as her mother frantically knelt beside her, trying to calm her. Nearby, a man in a bright-colored shirt gestured wildly, trying to explain something to a worried crowd. Lisa's heartbeat surged with empathy. "What happened?" she asked the nearest bystander. "They're saying she got lost," the young woman replied, glancing nervously back at the girl. "Her parents were looking for her everywhere." Lisa's heart sank. She squeezed Mia's hand tighter, imagining the terror of a lost child. She glanced at Carl, who stood beside her, his brow furrowed in concern. "We have to help," Lisa said, her focus sharpening. "Can you check the nearby tents? I'll stay here." Carl hesitated for a moment, but then nodded. "I'll be right back." He disappeared into the crowd, his urgency blending with the growing chaos around them. "Mama, is she going to be okay?" Mia asked, her innocent eyes wide with worry. A wave of maternal instinct surged through Lisa. "Of course, sweetheart. Let's just keep an eye out, okay?" As they waited, Lisa felt the rising tide of hope. The world around them was filled with uncertainty, but amidst that, she believed something would be resolved. As time passed and Carl didn't return, Lisa's anxiety grew. She scanned the crowd, searching for his familiar figure. Minutes felt like hours. Just when she was about to move, she spotted him coming back, a worried look on his face. "Did you find anything?" Lisa asked, stepping closer. He shook his head. "No, but they're organizing a search. They've set up a place for parents to report if they think their child is missing." At that moment, the girl's mother drew closer, her voice shaking. "We need to do something." Lisa felt the burden settle heavy on her shoulders. She took a deep breath, ready to act. "Let's go together. The more help we have, the faster we can find her." The moment tightened between them, filled with urgency and determination. Together, they stepped forward, both committing to a single purpose, a feeling Lisa had started to miss. As they got to work, Lisa's mind raced. Could she trust Carl with her heart when other matters felt so pressing? And yet, as they waded into the search, she found another layer of connection blooming. What would it mean for her to open her heart again? Just then, the girl's face lit up in recognition of her mother, and a cheer erupted in the crowd. But could something as simple as a lost child bring them together, or would it tear them apart all over again? Lisa felt a rush of relief when the girls' reunion with her mother sparked joyous cheers from the crowd. It was a moment that painted the festival with hope, and yet it also underscored the gnawing uncertainty that lurked in her heart. She glanced at Carl, still standing beside her, his hands tucked into his pockets, uncertainty etched on his face. He didn't share in the celebration, his expression a mix of concern and introspection. "Mama, are they okay now?" Mia tugged on Lisa's sleeve, her innocence a stark contrast to the turmoil Lisa felt inside. "Yes, sweetheart," Lisa replied, mustering a smile. "They found each other. That's all that matters." But deep down, Lisa couldn't shake the feeling that their small success masked a larger unease. She felt as though a fragile thread connected Carl and herself, one that could either strengthen or fray with every interaction. Memories of happier times pressed against her, vivid and bittersweet. "What should we do next?" Carl asked, pulling her from her thoughts. His voice held an urgency, inviting her to consider the present over the past. "It's getting darker," Lisa said, glancing around at the evening's encroaching shadows. The festival lights twinkled faintly, but the festive mood was tarnished by the earlier panic. "We should get Mia home soon, but maybe we can help at the search center first." Carl nodded eagerly, his demeanor shifting from worry to action. "Good idea. We can help those parents. We know how it feels to lose a child, even temporarily." She met his gaze. They did know. It was a shared experience, heavy and raw, that had shaped much of their relationship. It pulled her in, drawing away the barriers she had carefully built around her heart over the years. As they walked toward the search center, the crowd around them began to thin. Vendors began packing up their stalls, and the once vibrant sounds of laughter were replaced with quieter conversations. Lisa's thoughts shifted again, swirling through memories of past joys that felt distant, family gatherings, laughter, and warmth. Mia's tiny hand slipped free from Lisa's grasp. "Mama, can I go look at the cotton candy?" she said, her eyes wide with hope. "Stay close," Lisa called after her, watching as Mia scurried toward a brightly colored stall. Carl stepped forward, a protective instinct crossing his features. "Let her enjoy a little," he said softly, glancing back at Lisa, who had tensed, torn between wanting to shield her daughter and letting her revel in simple joys. "Right. She deserves to have fun too." Lisa smiled, feeling a flicker of fondness about how Carl always seemed to understand her internal struggles, but just as quickly it was shadowed by the weight of their unresolved past. They arrived at the search center, which was bustling with parents eagerly sharing information and volunteers organizing search teams. Lisa felt a rush of fulfillment as she stepped into the role of supporter. "Where can we help?" she asked one of the volunteers, determined to channel her energy into something good. "Do you have a photo of your child?" the volunteer asked. Lisa felt a pang of sadness, imagining a similar scene playing out if Mia were lost. The thought solidified her resolve. They would help as much as they could. Working alongside Carl, they distributed flyers and organized groups, feeling the pulse of the community rally together. Lisa noticed Carl's strength and dedication shining through, igniting a spark of hope in her. "Maybe we're not so broken after all," she whispered, more to herself than to him. He turned, catching her eye. "What was that?" "Nothing," she said quickly, but a part of her wondered if they were beginning to mend the jagged edges of their relationship amidst the chaos. As the night wore on, laughter returned to the festival, weaving through the air filled with tension. Yet deep down, Lisa sensed that this ephemeral peace could be shattered at any moment. Could their willingness to confront the chaos together lead to healing, or would the shadows of their past continue to loom over them? And just then, a shout pierced through the air, a frantic voice that echoed with panic. "Help! My son is missing!" The cry sliced through the dimming light, sharp and desperate. Every heart within earshot jumped. Lisa whipped around, her instinct to protect Mia igniting like a flame. A crowd began to gather near the search center, eyes wide with concern, and whispers electrified the air. "Did you hear that?" Carl's voice was steady but laced with urgency. "Let's go," she said, trailing behind the rush of anxious parents and volunteers. Mia had lingered by the cotton candy stall, cotton candy in hand, her gaze drifting around her. Lisa's heart raced, her hand reaching for Mia's to pull her close. "Mama, look!" she shouted, oblivious to the tension in the air, her cotton candy bright against the growing shadows. "Not now, sweetheart," Lisa said, scanning the gathering crowd as frantic parents rushed past, fueled by fear. The mother, face etched with concern, was pacing, her hands clawing at her hair as she called out her son's name. "Logan, where are you?" Her cries echoed in the night, each syllable filled with a mother's heartache. Lisa felt the weight of the moment. She could almost see the panic etched on that woman's face. It was an all-consuming fear that resonated deep within her core. How many times had she felt that same chilling dread when Mia slipped from her sight? It was unbearable. "Let's organize the search teams," Carl said, and Lisa nodded, drawing strength from his calm determination. Together, they moved through the crowd, spilling into action. Volunteers gathered around the mother, who was now clutching someone's arm, her eyes wild and desperate. "He was right here. We were just next to the games. Please, you have to help me find him." The mother's voice cracked, breaking something deep inside Lisa. "How old is he?" Lisa called out, stepping forward. 8. Logan, please." "Okay, listen up." Carl took charge, his voice ringing out through the gathering panic. "We need to split into groups. Parents, if you have a photo of your child, share it. Every detail counts." As the crowd began to move, a sense of purpose surged. Lisa felt a mix of dread and urgency. They had to act quickly. "Let's check the game stalls first," she suggested, her gaze locking with Carl's. "That's where I saw Mia last." He nodded, a determination growing in his eyes. "Let's go." Each step propelled her forward, the atmosphere electric with fear. She could feel the pulse of the festival still lingering, juxtaposed against this unfolding horror. They darted from stall to stall, calling out the boy's name, hoping against hope for a response. "Mama!" Mia's voice came suddenly, tinged with fear. Lisa's heart sank. She turned around just in time to see her daughter walking towards a shadowy corner, her face illuminated in the faint glow of a nearby lamp. "Mia, stay close!" Lisa yelled, panic rising in her chest. But Mia was kneeling beside a little boy in a blue baseball cap, clutching a plush toy. "Is this Logan?" she asked, her eyes wide with innocence. A knot tightened in Lisa's throat. Hope surged as the boy looked up at her with tear-streaked cheeks. Before she could breathe a sigh of relief, a figure burst through the crowd. Logan's mother, eyes wild with disbelief. "Logan!" she cried, falling to her knees, pulling the boy into her arms. The relief washed over the crowd, a collective breath inhaled and exhaled in unison. Laughs mixed with sobs, swirling in the night like a promise fulfilled. But as Lisa watched, her heart thudded in her chest. They'd conquered this night, yes, but what lay in store for her and Carl? This moment of triumph didn't erase their past or guarantee their future. She turned to Carl, their eyes locking in a quietly shared understanding. The chaos didn't end here. But now the festival buzzed back to life, a semblance of normalcy resettling over them. As they began to walk back towards the heart of the festivities together, Lisa realized something was shifting between them. "If we can face this together," Carl began, but his words hung in the air, unfinished. Then they heard a crack of laughter, a reminder that the night carried on. But what else could threaten their fragile peace when the shadows loomed so closely? Lisa breathed in the lingering smells of popcorn and fried dough. The cheerful lights danced around them, but an ache settled in her chest. The moment with Logan had been a victory, yet the night felt heavy with unspoken worries. She cast a glance at Carl, his brows knitted in thought. He looked resolute, but she could see the question swirling in his mind. "Mama, can we go on the Ferris wheel, please?" Mia's voice broke through the tension, her cotton candy nearly forgotten. The excitement glimmered in her eyes like the lights above. Lisa hesitated. The idea of being up high, above the chaos, was comforting and frightening all at once. We can do that, Mia," she said, masking her uncertainty with a smile. Carl nodded, gentle encouragement behind his gaze. "Let's let her enjoy this. It's what tonight is about, right?" As they made their way toward the giant wheel, Lisa tried to focus on the weight of Mia's small hand in hers, the warmth grounding her. But each parent's frantic shout echoed in her ears, reminding her of what they had just navigated. The joy of the festival felt like a thin layer stretched over deep-seated fears. Would the night truly end in peace? They reached the Ferris wheel, and Mia squealed with delight, her face glowing with anticipation. As they waited in line, Lisa felt Carl shift closer, his presence offering stability. The soft murmur of the crowd faded, and they found themselves wrapped in a moment of stillness. "What do you think about letting Mia help with the search next time?" Carl's voice was low, cautious. Lisa looked at him, considering the idea. "It's a good thought, but I don't know if I'm ready for that. I want to shield her from this kind of fear." "She'll face it eventually," Carl replied gently. "Better now, surrounded by love and support." The word struck deep. Maybe the reality of it was that keeping Mia sheltered wouldn't protect her forever. But could she truly face the possibility of her little girl being lost in a world that felt increasingly chaotic? Mia hopped into a cabin of the Ferris wheel, her giggles bubbling over. Lisa exchanged a glance with Carl as they squeezed in beside Mia. As the ride began to ascend, the world below shrunk. For a brief moment, anxiety slipped away, replaced by a feeling of freedom. The cool breeze brushed against them, and Mia squealed with delight, her laughter wrapping around them like a hug. "Look at the lights!" she exclaimed, pointing down at the festival. Lisa let herself relax, if only for a moment. The shimmering bulbs sparkled like stars, momentarily washing away the shadows of parental fears. But as they reached the top, that initial thrill faded. The vastness opened up below them, a reminder of just how fragile everything truly felt. The laughter of Mia felt distant, mingled with whispers of uncertainty. What if I lose her next time? As the Ferris wheel began its descent, Lisa's heart fluttered unsteadily. She looked into Carl's eyes and saw reflections of the same concerns mirrored back. He reached for her hand, squeezing it reassuringly. But the underlying truth remained. "How do you let go?" she asked softly, barely above a whisper. He hesitated, and the moment stretched between them as Mia chattered excitedly about the view. "You don't. You just learn to trust her instincts and your own." The words settled heavily in the air, thick with unacknowledged emotions. This simple ride felt like a pivotal moment. Lisa wanted to believe that they could navigate this together, but deep down, fears lingered like uninvited shadows. When they stepped off the ride and found solid ground again, Lisa's mind raced with questions. Could she allow herself to trust again? And as they walked back towards the heart of the festival, she couldn't help but wonder what else awaited them in the night's unfolding tapestry of emotions. Just then, a sudden commotion broke through the revelry. A child's scream sliced through the laughter, followed by frantic calls. Lisa's gut twisted. "Not again," she breathed. What darkness loomed just beyond the laughter this time? The sounds of laughter crumbled into a panic, a mix of shouts piercing the air. Lisa's grip tightened on Mia's hand as she instinctively pulled her daughter closer. The vibrant festival lights flickered as worry settled in, heavy and suffocating. Around them, families turned, faces pale with fear, searching for clarity in the chaos. "Stay close, sweetheart," Lisa instructed, her voice firm despite the quaking fear within. Carl moved beside them, scanning the crowd, his brow furrowed, matching her own rising dread. "What happened?" he murmured, as they watched parents rush toward a group of attendants near the game booths. "Someone's lost," Lisa replied, trying to remain steady for Mia's sake. "Just stay with us." Mia, sensing the tension, looked up at her mother, confusion clouding her young features. "Is it a bad thing, Mama?" "No, love. It's just a misunderstanding," Lisa said, the lie tasting bitter on her tongue. "They'll find the child." But as they moved closer, Lisa witnessed the frantic gestures of a mother, her hands trembling as she clutched a stuffed bear. The child's name echoed around them like a haunting melody, a stark reminder of what could happen. "What if it's a little girl?" Mia whispered, her eyes widening, mirroring the growing unease. "That won't happen to you. You're safe with me. Always safe," Lisa reassured, forcing a smile. But the truth curled in her stomach. How could she promise safety? Each parent's anxious face felt like a mirror, reflections of her own history. Lisa had spent so many nights staring at the ceiling, plagued by fears of losing Mia. Yet tonight, the festival was meant to be a release, a break from the spiral of worry. "Mia, let's sit here for a moment," Carl suggested, pulling a nearby bench into view. They nestled down together, the scene unfolding before them feeling like a distant movie at times, surreal, yet painfully real. Lisa wrapped her arm protectively around Mia, her heart pounding like a drum. "I remember my first fair," Carl said, trying to lighten the mood. "I lost my mom in a sea of big balloons. Thought I'd never see her again." "What happened?" Mia asked, eyes wide with curiosity. "She found me, right where I was standing. We had a deal. You stay where I can see you, and I'll find you in the crowd," Carl replied, smiling through the tension. "Maybe we should have that deal too," Mia exclaimed, a hint of giggle returning to her voice. Lisa's heart swelled, but the laughter was fleeting, dissipating as another shout cut through the festive air. "Is anyone missing a little girl with blonde hair?" Time froze. Lisa's breath caught. The air felt thick, every heartbeat echoing in her ears. It was a little girl, the very thought making her stomach twist. The crowd shifted, others looking towards the source of the cry. Carl's hand gripped hers tighter. "Stay put," he said, determination in his voice. "Should we help?" Lisa asked, a gnawing instinct pushing her to act. "We wait," Carl replied, but his own voice wavered. The seconds stretched, filling with the palpable anxiety that tightened their chests. The frantic mother's face twisted with worry, eyes darting in every direction. Lisa felt tears prick at the corners of her own eyes. It felt unbearably like a nightmare, a loop of terror playing out, when she had hoped to escape tonight. "Mama?" Mia's soft voice broke through, heavy with worry. Lisa turned to her, desperate to shield her from the chaos. "I'm right here, always." Just then, the crowd drew back as the little girl was found, flanked by festival workers. Relief flooding the air like a wave, cheers ignited, overwhelming the fear. But Lisa could only watch as the moment of joy swept in and out like a tide. Staring into Carl's eyes, a thought took root. "What if we help next time?" she suggested. "Help find others together. It could change everything." But before she could process the weight of her own words, she felt a new fear creep in, unrelenting and potent. "What if we expose ourselves even more?" "Carl," whispered, uncertainty coating his tone. As they stood, the festival lights flickered, promising celebration and chaos, joy and terror intertwined. The nights ahead felt daunting, full of questions and fears, and the looming possibility of loss. Could they truly embrace the darkness and still dance in the light? The laughter from the crowd faded into a haunting echo, and Lisa's heart raced at the thought of embarking on a journey that could unravel everything they fought to protect. The festival continued to pulse around them, lights twinkling and music playing, but to Lisa it all felt muted. The laughter, the joy, the balloons drifting in the night sky, everything blurred into background noise while she grappled with the weight of her words. "Do you really think we could help?" Mia asked, her small voice brimming with both innocence and hope. Lisa exchanged a glance with Carl. His face was stoic, eyes fixated somewhere beyond the frantic crowd. "It's a big world out there, Mia. Helping others could be something good," she finally said, her tone more confidence than she felt. "Then we should," Mia beamed, shifting in her seat, the spark of enthusiasm lighting her features. Lisa managed a weak smile, her insides a jumble of fear and determination. "Yes, we should, but we have to be careful, okay?" "Why?" Mia's forehead crinkled with concern. "Because sometimes the world is a scary place," Carl replied softly, his hand resting on Mia's shoulder. "But if we work together, we can make it less so." Mia pondered that, her eyes darting between her parents, searching for certainty in their expressions. "I want to help too. Maybe we can do good things together." Warmth enveloped Lisa at her daughter's eagerness, reminding her of pure moments that still existed, even amid uncertainty. "All right, we will figure out a way. Together." But as they sat, the night simmering with confusion and potential, a flash of panic surged through Lisa. She thought back to that little girl, the frantic mother, the cries that had taken over the festival. What if they couldn't prevent another separation? "Maybe we should start tonight," she whispered, her thoughts tumbling rapidly. "Check in with some of those attendants, see how they organize their help." She paused, her heart racing at the idea. What if we could create a small network with others, Make it a community project. Carl looked thoughtfully at her, the flicker of the same determination in his gaze. We could ask the festival organizers how they handle lost children, get their strategies, build something around that. Without waiting for another moment, they stood up, determination fueling their steps. Lisa took Mia's hand, holding it tight as they moved toward the throng where festival workers carried walkie-talkies and wore badges that signified authority. "Mom, what do I say?" Mia asked, looking small and serious, her face a mix of eagerness and trepidation.
"Just tell them we want to help." Lisa smiled down at her, invigorated by the notion of action. "Let's start with what we can do." As they approached a cluster of attendants, Lisa's heart thudded painfully. There was so much uncertainty that clung to her, but there was also a flickering flame of hope. Maybe they could change things. Maybe they could make a difference. "Excuse me," Carl called out, drawing the attendants' attention. They turned, curiosity lining their faces. Lisa swallowed hard, a rush of words spilling forth, about the recent commotion, about wanting to lend a hand, to prevent future fears from marred evenings like tonight. Slowly, the attendants listened. With each word, Lisa felt an electric pulse of possibility. Maybe this was the spark they needed, not just for them, but for the community surrounding them. And as they spoke, a realization dawned on Lisa. This initiative wasn't just about protecting Mia. It was about healing the scars of fear that clung to her own heart. But just as the conversation began to build momentum, a loud noise erupted from the other side of the fairgrounds, a commotion unlike anything they had seen unfolded. "What's happening?" Mia asked, pulling closer to her mother. Lisa's heart sank as new dread built. "I don't know," she murmured, feeling the weight of what this could mean. The crowd surged, eyes shifting like leaves in a storm. Once again, laughter mixed with panic. Could they truly stand against the shadows lurking in the night? Before they could step back, a voice called out, echoing with desperation. "Is anyone missing a child?" A chill ran down Lisa's spine. The night screamed fears anew, and in that moment she understood they were about to dive deeper into a darkness they couldn't control. The festival, once filled with laughter and light, had transformed into a cacophony of fear and uncertainty. Lisa clutched Mia's small hand tighter, her heart racing at the sound of those dreaded words. "Is anyone missing a child?" echoed through the throng of bodies, each repetition sending waves of dread crashing against her resolve. "Just stay close," she whispered, scanning the crowd, her protective instincts kicking into overdrive. Carl's hand brushed against hers, a silent reminder that they were in this together, that they could face the chaos if they stood side by side. The crowd surged like a tide, people moving toward the source of the commotion. Lisa's heart quickened. She could feel the shared anxiety tightening around them, a collective panic that transcended their individual fears. This was more than just a missing child. This was a reminder of all the fears she had buried for years, fears of losing her own children to the unpredictable chaos of the world. "Mama, I'm scared," Mia whispered, her innocent eyes wide with concern. "I know, sweetie, it's going to be okay," Lisa said, though uncertainty gnawed at her heart. "Let's go see what's happening together." They pushed forward through the crowd, drawn to the desperate cries of a frantic mother whose world was crashing down in front of her. "Logan!" she cried, her voice a raw mix of fear and panic. A knot tightened in Lisa's throat. She remembered her own tumultuous emotions as a parent in similar situations. If they could help, they should. Action was all that ever quelled the deepest fears in her heart. She turned to Carl, her voice steady, yet filled with urgency. "We need to assist her, now." He nodded, his gaze focused and resolute. "Let's find the attendants and see how we can help." United in purpose, they swiftly approached a group of festival volunteers who were organizing the search efforts. The atmosphere was electric with anxiety, each person acutely aware of how easily joy could turn into despair. "Excuse us," Carl interjected, catching the attention of the attendants. "We can help with the search for Logan. What can we do?" The lead volunteer, a middle-aged man with deep lines etched into his face, looked at them with a mix of gratitude and urgency. "We need eyes on the area near the gaming tents. Parents are reporting sightings. Can you help spread the word and rally others to join the search?" "Absolutely," Lisa said, her determination swelling. "We'll do everything we can." They split up, quickly gaining momentum as they spread the word. The crowd was alive with a newfound sense of purpose, many family members joining forces to find the lost boy. "Mama, do you think they'll find him?" Mia asked, peering up at Lisa, her small face a reflection of hope and anxiety. I believe they will, sweetheart, Lisa answered softly, wishing she could carry that certainty within herself. Everyone is working hard together. As they moved through the crowd, the echo of their combined efforts resonated. Parents comforted each other, fueled by a shared mission to bring the child back home. Time blurred, a heavy fog of minutes passing as the search intensified. Lisa's heart raced with every passing moment, each echoed name feeling like a reminder of what could be lost. And yet, within that fiery anxiety, there was hope that she could channel this fear into a force for change. Finally, the murmur of a crowd began to swell, almost singing as it drew closer. Did they find him? Carl exclaimed, excitement bubbling beneath his skin as he propelled Lisa and Mia forward. As they neared the center of the activity, they saw the unmistakable shape of a small boy in a blue baseball cap, his tear-streaked cheeks flush with relief as he was enveloped by a woman who could only be his mother. The mother clutched him tightly, sobs of relief echoing against the surrounding festive backdrop. Cheers erupted in waves around them, as the tension that had held the crowd captive dissolved into jubilation. Lisa felt tears sting her eyes as she watched the reunion unfold, heart swelling with a mix of joy and relief. Mama, they found him.
Mia! Shouted, clapping her hands in delight, a bright smile lighting her face. Yes, they did! Lisa couldn't help but mourn the moments of fear they'd navigated, but revel in the beauty of such a reunion. It felt like a liberation, an affirmation of what mattered most: family, love, and connection. But even as laughter washed over the crowd, Lisa couldn't shake the truth that these moments could so easily slip away. Could she truly embrace the desire to help, to give, knowing there were no guarantees? Mama! Mia pulled at her sleeve, her voice bubbling with excitement. Can we help more children, like Logan? Lisa knelt down, meeting her daughter's bright eyes. Absolutely, honey. But first, we need to celebrate today, together. As the crowd began to disperse, joy reignited the festival atmosphere, laughter carrying on the wind. Carl squeezed her hand. You are amazing, Lisa. You faced your fears today. A warmth enveloped Lisa as she felt a sense of accomplishment, yet she knew their journey had only begun. Together, they could create a brighter future, one of support and love, bridging the gap between fear and hope in their lives. They returned to the heart of the festival, laughter swirling around them like a vibrant tapestry. Lisa took a deep breath, realizing this night had transformed them. Their path together wasn't clear, but with each small moment of connection, they could weave a new narrative, one filled with resilience, love, and the active choice to step forward in the face of uncertainty. Let's take this night one step at a time, she said, glancing at Carl with a newfound determination. Together, we can find our way. As her heart swelled with courage, she took Mia's hand and walked into the thrumming life of the festival, ready to embrace all that lay ahead, the joys and the challenges, as one unified family. Now is the time for you to join this incredible journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you further. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your support is crucial. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything. True fans like you understand the importance of uplifting each other through these actions.